Hi, you've come to A Chief's Wife's Hearts of Fire blog. I'm the Chief's wife, and I'm back again with doll houses. Now, remember the last time I made these two doll houses, I got challenged by my daughter-in-law, who doesn't like pink or frilly things. She said, "Where's the Beatles?" Well, here they are. So it took me 3 days to come up with a doll house of Beatles, and what I did was I found my favorite Beatles collection collage and decided to print it out big enough to make at least a 12 by 12 cardstock. So actually this came out about 12 by about 15 or 18, and I cut extra off of it by putting the Beatles into the middle of it. This I decided to laminate, and the reason is because the cardstocks that used on the others are a shiny like cardstock that if a drop of water gets onto it, it's not going to wash it out as much. It will, but not as much, because this is ink that's from your printer. And the Canon Pixma printer is what I use, and I just love that for my photos. It does very well on matte cardstock or matte or regular cardstock or paper, and it especially works well with glossy photo paper. So what I used was regular cardstock because it sunk in more like a distress ink would. If you want to think of it that way, that's the way it is described on there. Now, I did use some of the ideology on this. You'll notice the tissue tape is what put together all of the pieces and then laminated it, and I showed some pictures that you'll find down below about that. Now, here we go on to the inside. I found an inside of the album, which is the outside of the actual album of the Abbey Road album. Now, this is one of my favorite albums, not only because it's one of the last upbeat ones that they made, but also because of the most famous crosswalk in the world. And I decided to make that on the inside of the album because the Beatles are in costume. Now remember, this was the summer of love in '69, so I loved adding the ideology and something that the younger kids may not realize, but there were clues all over this album of Paul is Dead, which, well, I'm not going to comment on that. He's very much alive. I saw so myself last summer, but the point of this is that the clues that we always looked for really scared the poop out of you, because back then we could turn the album clockwise or counterclockwise, and the counterclockwise of the vinyls, you heard little things if you could hear, which I could back then. I was young enough to hear the cranberry sauce on the strawberry fields, and the horror of listening to that in the middle of the night is still with me. That was supposed to have been I Buried Paul. So anyway, you've got all the clues on here, and I thought it was really cool. And I also included one of the newest, the talking tags from Sizzix. And this plays the last song with the last line of the last album of the Beatles. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. And that was one of my favorite lines of all time. You can see that on the inside of these, I decided to layer a paper inside. And it is the same musical background I used for my kids in their marching band contests and albums. Now, let's set this aside for a second, and I'll show you the dolls. I did all of the dolls entirely using just these 4 dies. The body for the main, and of course the little t-shirts that they have white shirts like everyone else to sleep in, and the fire outfit, the police outfit, and the graduation outfit. Now the graduation outfit made a couple of the coats, and this made great suits when you put that and these 2 pieces together. Alright, here we go. Oh, I forgot one part. The Beatles hat was made out of this for the help. Now I'm going to show you the albums that I made, and they're right there because each of these little albums in the plastic holds the outfits for all 4 of the dolls, and voila, there you go. Let's set the paper aside. Now you can see why I was excited about using these with this background. So you've got your dollhouse here, and you've got George and John and Ringo, and of course the barefoot paw. There we go. And they're all there. But the funnest part is, when I made the hair, I actually included the glasses. If you can see on the other side of it, I added some tape for some extra stability in there. I simply cut it out according to the picture and colored it with none other than alcohol inks. Just because Tim was using alcohol inks on this month's tag and I was playing around with them so much, I thought, oh my goodness, that makes a really nice staining color. And it did. And then I used my wiring for the jewelry. Just a little simple wiring, and turned it into circles for his glasses. Now, let's take John apart here, and I'll show you some of my most favorite things here. And I need to, well, actually I've got Ringo's out, so let's do Ringo. Each of the costumes, yes, came with hair if it required. So here we go. Let's put Ringo together. And I used a little piece of thread to attach his mustache, because actually his mustache is free on there. He has no sideburns that cover the whole thing up. Oh, whoops. Did we get that right? It might be the wrong one. That's right. Ringo is the big bushy hair. Whoops, we had Paul on there. Okay, so we've got George. And I wanted to make this a little bit faster. But you can see each of the details in the jackets match with exactly what is on the album itself. I tried to copy the detail with little pieces of paper as much as I could, and believe it or not, the different colors of cardstock, those jackets were made out of firefighter jacket. Cut down and trimmed, cutting it twice. Again, these are thicker than just normal cardstock, as I tripled up the papers, glued them all together, and let them dry, and then made the cuts. And the simple little things on there aren't so simple, but it's made a lot simpler using the tonic shears of Tim Holtz, because they simply cut and leave a little jagged edge that's so tiny that just makes those cuts look frilly. So you've got your fringe on there. Now, one of my funnest outfits, more fun, funnest, whatever. We have a whole different language here when it comes to scrapping. Is the original, and I changed the hair on this also. And what would that original outfit be without Beatle boots? There we go. So actually I have all 4 albums with all 4 outfits. And let's see, the only difference we have for one of these albums, which was Help, was I didn't make any hair on there, because it meant I had to have a different sticker up there on the heads, and it was a little bit too much, so I decided to change that out a little bit. Now you'll notice that when I did have the hair, again, to get the free-floating pieces, if you can see this, I used a piece of thread across there and just put some added tape on the back of it. This is duct tape, believe it or not. Little tiny pieces of duct tape actually stayed better than anything else. And the jewelry wiring made the glasses. And it worked out really good. I believe I have the wrong one there. I've got all of these tagged so that I've got the right names to each one. I got so excited about this because this week one of the tribute bands is playing, and my wonderful husband got us tickets to go. I've seen all of the tribute bands now and Paul McCartney, and wish I could have been old enough to go on and see the Beatles themselves. But alas, I was born in '65, so there you go. I hope you had fun looking at this, as much fun as I had making it. It took me 3 days to get this together, and it was well worth it. Now, between the emergency set and the regular set and the Beatles set, I think I'm all set to play. Oh, no time. Gotta go make something else. Thanks for watching and happy vlogging.